everyone, it's Tambarambaa, also known as Tammy Klinger, with you again today to create another gorgeous bright Art by Marlene art journal page. So as you can see, this one's got all my favourite things with lots of colour. I've got some white space in there and lots of grunge. So let's go straight into it. I'll just go through what I have used. So this is the perfect size journal with the new smooth paper. And then I also had the luxury elements of the Quirky people. I've got the tissue paper in both of the styles. I've also got some older products, so the rub-ons, I've got the alpha stamps, and I've got the love stamp set. And then I've got my favourite stencil at the moment, which I love. And this is quite new. It's like a mark making stamp set that was released a while ago, and it's come back in again, which is awesome because I didn't have it the first time. And then I had the last paper range pack, and then paints. I've got Kissy, I've got Punk, I've got Ballet, I've got Glow, I've got Azure and Mermaid, Lace, Royal, Pitch and Happy. And I have listed all the products in the comments, so if if I'm going a bit fast, because look how fast I create, then you can catch it up in the comments. So I'm starting out, I grabbed a bit of gel medium, and I've just ripped off a bit of the napkin that has the sort of painterly look to it, and I'm just adhering that straight down onto my page using a spatula, just to pop. You put gel medium down, put the napkin on top, and then popping it back, sort of putting gel medium over the top again just to seal it in. And I like torn edges because I like to join up and add some paint, and if it's too straight, it makes it harder to blend that in. So I've just dried it off with a heat gun, and then I've grabbed a few of my colours, and I'm just basically bringing those colours with one of Marlene's brushes down a little bit further. So you can see where there's a bit of pink, I continue a bit of pink, and then I continue a bit of blue. Yeah, and just adding a few different colours here and there. And then I've come in with that awesome stencil. Now, this stencil gets used and used and used layer upon layer in this layout. So I add that on and then pull away some of the paint through it with a wet baby wipe. And I do that in a couple of spots. What I'm trying to do is I want to try and leave white space through the centre of my layout. And so I'm sort of mixing a bit of white with some of the paints as I get closer to that centre, because I just don't want it to completely fill in, and that can happen. I'm creating away and all of a sudden I've got rid of all the white space that I tried to keep there. So I'm really just coming in, I'm not thinking too much about it, but I'm just adding paint, and I'm not, at this point in time, I wasn't really lining up my stencil. I was just wiping some off because I just want to create some interest and some pattern. And I am using some of the translucent paints like the Glow and the Punk over the top of some of the colours that are already there, just to give a bit more of an oomph to the page. And occasionally when you're working with the napkin, a little bit will tear and you'll get a little gap, so I just fill it in with a little bit of paint. So I'm doing it here with a few other colours, and at this point I will start to line up my stencil, because I like the look of when you put a few different colours on top, then and you add your stencil, then you're going to get an ombre look of the different rainbow colours. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but anyway, what I'm also doing here is I've grabbed the other napkin, and they always come, like the napkins come with two layers. So you always peel them apart and you're just using the colourful layer. But when you pull them apart, there's this, it's just like a white sort of tissue paper. So don't throw it away because you can use it in your creations. So what I have done here is I've stamped onto, using the alphabet stamps, Art and Create. You could stamp any sort of lettering, you could stamp any of the stamps, and then you just tear them out and put them on with gel medium again, and it just gives it helps it to blend into the background really well. So something I didn't explain is when I'm instead of cutting around the edge, because that will give you a straight edge which will be more obvious. We want to tear, but to control that tear, just dip your brush in some wet water and go around where you want the tear, and it will just naturally tear around that part. So now I'm glued it on with the gel medium, and I'm letting it dry. I have dried it a little bit, and I've just come in with a couple of little colours again, just around those words, just to blend it all through, because you do get a tiny bit of the tissue showing, so just to cover it up completely. So now I decide I really like those black words on there, but I want to add a bit more grunge, because I love colour with some grunge. So I've gone, first of all, I grabbed one of the stamps from the Love stamp set, and I just stamped it in a few clusters coming off the page. Don't want it right in the centre. We're keeping our grunginess around the edge and slowly coming into that white point, a white space. So then I've just grabbed a whole heap of different stamps from that awesome mark making set. So I've used like the line stamps, I've used the scribble, I've used the dots. What else did I use? I just kind of kept going, and I tried to keep the plus symbols there, or little crosses. So I tried to keep the stamping in a bit of a cluster and coming out. You do not want that stamping all over the page, because the eye will not know where to look. So we need it to be where the colour is, just to add some black, and we need it to be a little bit clustered, and as I always say, coming off of your page. Okay, so I've popped all the stamping down, and you'll see in the close-ups, when the close-ups come at the end, that there's a lot happening, and it's really cool. There's a lot to find and discover. So now I'm creating a focal point. So first of all, I thought I grabbed that paper element, that Quirky girl, and she reminded me of Frida Kahlo, which reminds me of art. And I thought, perfect, that goes with the art and the create. So I found a little quote in the rub-ons saying, "I am a true artist." I'm going to put that in the top left corner, so I don't rub that on until the very end. And what I've done is I'm just cutting out some bits around my Frida to give a focal point. So from one of the sheets of paper that was in the pack, I had used a few hearts from it, but there was lots I hadn't used, and it's just kind of sitting there in my bag of tricks. So I cut out a smaller heart, I cut out a few leaves, there were some frondy leaves as well, and they just are all gorgeous. So I just cut them all out, and then I'm just poking and playing and making a little cluster. So this is my focal point. And of course, when you think about Frida, you think about flowers and leaves, and so that's kind of what I've created there. So I kind of know sort of how I want that to go, and so I put that to the side. And something I always do, and you can probably see this makes a real difference, is just add, particularly because I've got white space in the centre, so I've got some white in my page, so I need to bring some white into that colour. So I've just grabbed my white paint, and with one of the brushes I've just done some mark making really simply in a couple of areas. Okay, then I've peeled off the rub-on, and I have rubbed it on just using the end of my brush, one of Marlene's brushes. It's got this cool little end that's great for scoring, and it's also great for rubbing on rub-ons. So then let's add that more grunge. So I ran some black paint around the edge with my finger, and now I'm rubbing a little bit of paint into just a couple of areas, and I am trying to line up that stencil and just lift that black off, just to add some grunginess to the whole thing. So yeah, I do also come in and add a little bit of black without stenciling, just tiny bits, just so it looks messy. So now it's time to glue down the focal point. So a bit more fiddling and fluffing around and poking. It's never how I had it set up in the first place, and it'll change again while I'm sticking it down as well. So you can see even there's a little blue part there that's kind of the edge of something that was on the page, and don't waste it, just poke it in and it will look like it's a flower hiding under there. No one needs to know it's not the whole flower. It just adds to that layering and that depth. Okay, so let's ground our girl. So I've got a Stabilo oil pencil, and I'm just giving her a bit of floor space to stand on. I create a few little shadows around the edge of her, just so she pops up from the background a bit. And I think that is basically it. Oh, a few little black splatters never go astray, do they? So they kind of finish the page off and go with the grunge. So just using Marlene's fan brush, I've just splattered a few black marks there. And then I do decide to add with pink. I think this is the pink neon. I have just done a few dots sort of coming in towards the focal point and then out from the focal point as well. So you'll be able to see that more closely in the close-ups that I'm now showing. So yeah, it's probably hard. I did film this at night, so the lighting wasn't quite right. So these photos are probably more accurate, but hopefully you can see all the detail in the background and the grungy look that is there. So love it. My favourite kind of pages to do. So that's it from me. I will leave you with another page, and I will be back again soon. And as always, I love, 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 love hearing from you and knowing you are here watching my videos. Thanks. So leave me a comment. Bye.